What if one of the greatest leaps in human evolution didn't happen because we planned it, but instead because we stumbled into it? What if early humans wandering the African savannah accidentally ate a mushroom that subtly changed how their brains worked? And what if thousands of years later, a Swiss chemist accidentally absorbed a chemical through his fingertips and suddenly experienced a completely different state of consciousness? Two accidents, one in the wild and one in a laboratory, both raising the same fascinating question. Could chance encounters with powerful substances have helped accelerate human consciousness? Today we explore two remarkable stories, the Stoned Ape Theory and the accidental discovery of LSD. And by the end of this episode, you may start wondering whether some of the biggest leaps in human thinking came from unexpected moments of discovery. For millions of years, our ancestors evolved slowly. Early hominids used simple tools. They communicated with basic sounds. Their lives revolved around survival. But then suddenly something extraordinary happened. Between roughly 200,000 and 50,000 years ago, human cognition exploded. Suddenly we see evidence of cave paintings, symbolic art, complex language, ritual burials, advanced tools, storytelling and mythology. Anthropologists often call this moment the cognitive revolution. The question is, what triggered it? Some scientists believe the answer lies in diet, cooperation and environmental changes. But one controversial idea suggests something more unusual: psychedelic mushrooms. The Stoned Ape Theory was proposed by Terence McKenna. McKenna was a writer, lecturer and the explorer of consciousness who spent years studying the relationship between humans and psychoactive plants. He was particularly interested in how substances found in nature might influence culture, creativity and even perception. In the early 1990s, McKenna suggested a bold idea that early human ancestors, particularly Homo erectus, may have encountered psilocybin mushrooms while migrating across the African savannah. These mushrooms grow naturally in animal dung, particularly in areas where grazing animals live. Early humans often followed herds for food, which means they would likely have encountered these mushrooms regularly. These fungi contain psilocybin, a compound known for altering perception, cognition and emotional awareness. McKenna proposed that repeated exposure to psilocybin could have influenced the development of the human brain, not by instantly transforming humans, but by subtly nudging evolution over thousands of years. There are possible evolutionary advantages: advanced visual processing. Research suggests that small doses of psilocybin may improve pattern recognition and visual sensitivity. For early hunter-gatherers, this could mean spotting animals hiding in tall grass, noticing subtle movements in the environment, detecting predators earlier. Even a slight advantage in perception could increase survival rates. Over generations, small advantages can shape evolution. And increased reproductive success. McKenna also suggested that psychedelics might have increased sexual arousal and bonding within early tribes. Psychedelics often heighten sensory perception and emotional connection. Groups that reproduced more successfully would naturally pass on their gene more effectively. Over long periods of time, these behaviours could influence population dynamics. And stronger social bonds. Psychedelic experiences frequently create feelings of empathy, unity, and emotional openness. For a small tribe, strong cooperation is essential. Groups that bonded more closely could hunt better, defend each other, and raise children more successfully. Social cohesion has always been one of humanity's greatest evolutionary strengths. And then there's the birth of language and symbolic thinking. One of the most intriguing aspects of psychedelic experiences is how they affect pattern recognition and abstract thinking. People often report vivid imagery, complex ideas, and deep symbolic connections. McKenna suggested this could have stimulated the development of language and symbolic communication. Language requires the ability to transform thoughts into shared symbols. If psychedelics enhanced this ability, even slightly, they may have accelerated the development of complex communication. And language is one of the defining features of human intelligence. So, could evolution really work like that? The Stoned Ape Theory is controversial. There is no direct evidence proving it. Most scientists still believe diet, environment, and social cooperation were the primary drivers of human brain expansion. But the theory remains fascinating because it highlights something important. Evolution is full of unexpected influences. Entire species have changed because of climate shifts, new food sources, and environmental accidents. Nature is full of complex interactions between organisms, so the possibility that psychoactive plants or fungi influenced human behaviour at some point in our history is not impossible, even if the theory remains speculative. Now, there is another accident that happened thousands of years later. This accident would open a new frontier of human awareness. This time it was in a laboratory in Basel, Switzerland. In 1943, a chemist named Albert Hofmann was working for the pharmaceutical company Sandoz. He was studying compounds derived from ergot, hoping to create medicines for circulation and childbirth. Years earlier, Hofmann had synthesized a compound called LSD-25. At first it seemed unremarkable, but something about it continued to intrigue him. So he decided to revisit the compound. And while working with it, a tiny amount was accidentally absorbed, it's argued either through his skin or inhaled or through the eyes. Soon afterwards, he began feeling unusual sensations, dizziness, vivid imagery, strange perceptions. Curious about the effects, he later conducted a deliberate self-experiment. On April the 19th, 1943, Hofmann intentionally took a small dose of LSD. What he thought was tiny turned out to be extremely powerful. As the effects intensified, he left the laboratory and cycled home. During the ride, reality began to transform. Colours intensified, objects appeared to move, time felt distorted. Hofmann later described the experience as both terrifying and beautiful. That journey is now known as Bicycle Day, the first recorded LSD trip in human history. And once again, a powerful exploration of consciousness began with an accident. Throughout the 20th century, some innovators explored altered states of consciousness as a source of creative insight. In scientific innovation, biochemist Carey Mullins credited psychedelic experiences with helping him think creatively about scientific problems. Mullins invented polymerase chain reaction, a revolutionary technique used to amplify DNA. PCR became one of the most important tools in modern genetics and earned him the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. He later said psychedelic experiences helped him look at scientific challenges from completely different angles. And then you have technological visionaries. Steve Jobs famously described taking LSD, and he says it's one of the most important experiences of his life. Jobs believed the experience broadened his thinking and helped him understand the importance of combining technology with art, design, and human emotion. That philosophy shaped the identity of Apple, whose products were built around both engineering and aesthetic experience. And then there's music and artistic creativity. The psychedelic movement also influenced musicians like the Beatles. Their groundbreaking album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, pushed the boundaries of music production and imagination. Songs became more experimental, immersive, and conceptual. The album helped redefine what modern music could be. And in recent years, psychedelics have returned to serious scientific research. Studies at institutions like Johns Hopkins University and Imperial College London have produced promising results. Clinical trials have explored psilocybin-assisted therapy for treatment-resistant depression, PTSD, addiction, and end-of-life anxiety. Some patients report profound emotional breakthroughs during controlled therapeutic sessions. Scientists believe psychedelics may temporarily disrupt rigid brain patterns, allowing the mind to reorganize and form healthier perspectives. In simple terms, they may help the brain break out of destructive loops of thinking. So the story of human consciousness may not be as orderly as we imagine. We like to believe that progress is logical and controlled, that discoveries happen because we carefully plan them. But history suggests something different. Again and again, the biggest leaps in human understanding begin with curiosity and sometimes with accidents. A hunter eats a strange mushroom. A chemist touches a new compound. A mind suddenly sees the world differently, and in that moment, perception expands. Perhaps the most fascinating possibility is this: human consciousness may not be a finished product. It may still be evolving, still exploring, still discovering what the mind is capable of becoming. Because the human brain, the thing listening to this podcast right now, remains the most mysterious object we know. And the deeper we explore it, the more we realise something extraordinary. Sometimes the greatest discoveries about reality do not come from looking further into the universe. They come from looking deeper into the mind itself. And if history is a guide, those discoveries may begin the same way they often have before, with a strange encounter, a curious question, and the courage to explore the unknown. If you like this episode, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and comment. And just a quick shout out to our sponsors: Strong Coffee Company, protein-packed coffee for energy and clarity. Use code Vancrux1 for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com. And then there's More Labs, clinically proven hydration and recovery drinks. Use Vancrux1 as the code for morelabs.com. And finally, liquor gummies, electrolytes and vitamins for hangover prevention. Use code Vancrux1 for 20% off at liquor.com. That's liquure.com.